time for good energy, and I'm Dr. Julie, and welcome to Bodyful Day 253. And we are talking about constipation in the senses. This is day 2 of constipation in the senses, and we were talking about the sense of taste. So how can taste be used to help relieve constipation? Or how can taste cause constipation? We're going to look at it as a good energy in and as stressors in a way to help us relieve constipation or have energy to digest our food properly. Before we get into this, let's start with our basics. Take a deep breath in and release. Deep breath in, expand in the belly, expand in the chest, expand in the sinuses, and release. And we're talking about the sense of taste. So I want you to think about the last time that you had a flavor in your mouth that not too later caused things to move really quickly. So go ahead and take a deep breath in. And release. Now, I have made no bones about the fact that dairy, for a long time, a lot of dairy, so going out and getting a little bit of ice cream or going out and getting a shake, definitely caused my system to empty itself out. So that was always my trigger if I needed to get rid of something. It probably wasn't the best way to do it. Other people use caffeine. Caffeine has a tendency to trigger the intestinal system so that you can get rid of constipation. We're going to talk about a couple of other interesting ways today, but remember, our goal through all of this is to find the energy to poop right, or the energy to not have constipation or heal constipation, equals good energy in minus stressors. And today we're talking about how the sense of taste can do that. So when we talk about constipation, we definitely need to remind ourselves that what goes in is what is causing this. And that can be anything from processed foods, dairy, gluten, to things that shouldn't show up on the list, like kale. Kale, which is a new superfood, or was the new superfood, shouldn't cause constipation, but in a lot of people it does. That leads us to the whole pile of cruciferous, so cabbage and broccoli and Brussels sprouts and all of the cauliflower. All of those things can cause constipation. They cause gas. That's because there's a lot of fiber in them, and if somebody likes it too much, it's not going to move. So it's interesting that everybody thinks, well, of course you should eat more kale and more greens. But that's not always the case, because your microbiome is different from my microbiome. So your gut bacteria is different from my gut bacteria. And whereas my gut bacteria eats a little bit of dairy and decides, well, we're going to clear it out, your gut bacteria may say, dairy, let's stay in here for days. So this distinction, this difference between how your gut-brain axis reacts. Remember, gut-brain axis is a combination of the nervous system, the endocrine system, and your microbiome. And your immune system. There's a lot of stuff going on in here. And just the connection from putting food in your mouth, triggering an immune response, triggering a nervous system response, triggering a brain response, triggering a hormonal response, just going right in your mouth, that can decide whether or not you get to move your intestines. So, what sets you off as a constipation component is different from what sets somebody else off. But commonplace things are gluten, dairy, soy, eggs, processed foods, and a lot of carbs. So, we look at Thanksgiving dinner. Interesting that we're doing this whole series during Thanksgiving week. But yes, we look at Thanksgiving meal and know that yes, there is either going to be a lot of movement or there is not going to be any. There are going to be very few people that are riding the even normal keel this week. So what can we do for that? how can we help balance that? We know where the stressors are, especially with the sense of taste. So what good energy in can we provide? Well, I love spices. I love going to spices because you really can't hurt yourself with them. You can add them to your food to provide extra good energy in, and you can add just a little bit more to maybe help a little bit of healing. So when we think about spices that are really good about helping with constipation, we could start out with the hot ones. So cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper is good for digestion because, and triggering and releasing constipation, because it triggers saliva. It triggers a lot of saliva production. And saliva production is enzyme production, which means you were already starting to digest your food more when you put it in your mouth after you've had some, if it has some cayenne pepper on it, versus if it doesn't have anything else on it, because you've already added more digestive enzymes. That means the food is broken down better, which means when it gets to your stomach, it breaks down even more, which means it's broken down to the most it can be. So as it's processed through, there is less garbage to get picked up in your microbiome. It is more yours than it is theirs. So cayenne is an important one. Ginger. We've talked about ginger a number of times here. Ginger is it takes care of biofilms, which means that biofilms are a place where either parasites, bacteria, or funguses have a tendency to put a layer on the edge of your gut, on your intestinal wall. And ginger is really good at kind of going through and shushing that out, in addition to killing off a whole bunch of bacteria and killing off a whole bunch of fungus. So ginger is really good. We can look at cumin. Cumin seeds actually stimulate bile. And one of the reasons people get constipated is they're not processing their fat very well. So if after eating dairy, things get a little funky, it is probably because you don't have enough bile to actually process the dairy the way it should be. It should be emulsified. Think about a vinaigrette. A vinaigrette is an acid plus fat. And we emulsify them, and when we emulsify them, they taste really good. Well, the reason why is that emulsification is actually what we need to have happen in our gut in order to digest fat. So cumin stimulates bile production. Bile production means that there's a lot of less rancidness going on. And when we talked in day one about the importance, about the fact that what sticks in your gut, it's the fat. It's converted from good fats to bad fats and worse fats and sent back into you. So cumin is a great way to trigger bile, which means bile production, which means you're able to absorb and digest fats better, which means things go through you a lot better. Fennel seeds are also a great thing. Fennel seeds are a natural antibiotic. You can just pop those, and they actually, when you chew on them, they actually help break down the bad bacteria balance in your gut. So again, if we're looking for ways that flavor, taste can help with your gut, fennel is a great one. Now, does that mean you should eat pizza every day of the week? Probably not, because remember, sausage on pizza has fennel in it. And last but not least, turmeric. Turmeric is a natural laxative. So putting turmeric in your mouth, despite, my husband is British, and so curries, they always joke there about the fact that curries are very powerful. They clear out the system. They do. Turmeric clears out the system. So turmeric is a natural laxative. If you're looking for a way to put it into your body so that you can get things to come out, think about recipes for golden milk, which is turmeric and ginger and coconut milk and honey and some other spices, maybe a little bit of cinnamon. You could have that at night, and it will just kind of move things through your system really easily. So we've got some great sources of good energy, and we've got some stressors that may be your stressors. They may be your next door neighbor's stressors. Who knows? Sometimes even turmeric is a stressor for people. So you have to look at your own digestion and decide what tastes are triggering the mismatch in that gut-brain axis. Either way, whatever you can find, try to play with some spices in order to help with your digestion and see if it moves things along. All right. I hope you are having a great Tuesday. I will meet you back here tomorrow, probably a little earlier when the sun is still out, but it's a little rainy and dreary right now. So meet you back here tomorrow. Have a great day. Let's finish this off. Take a deep breath in and release. See you here tomorrow.